Twins Basil. All right, we're here to talk Disney, boys. D23, they just had their Disney Con this last weekend. It's kind of like the Comic Con for Disney, and a ton of stuff got announced. So each one of us is going to talk about our favorite announcements for each thing that they did at D23. I'm Vector. I'm here with the boys, Shoff, the Prime Shill. Shoff, how you doing?
I'm doing good. And you know what? Look closely because you might find a hidden Mickey somewhere in this episode.
And we have the Austin Powers impersonator extraordinaire, Kevin Call from Fuse Film. How you doing, Kevin?
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
If this doesn't work out, Kevin is definitely going to make a living as an Austin Powers impersonator.
But it's D23, Justin. What about Winnie the Pooh?
Winnie the Pooh was not announced at D23, but we'll get all into that.
That's the Fortnite skin we need is Winnie the Pooh.
Ooh. Actually, you know what? That's not a bad idea.
Because he only wears, no bottoms. No bottoms in Fortnite.
Already showing his hand of what his favorite thing was at D23. Save it, Shaw. Save it for your part. I'm going to talk about my favorite part of the D23, which was the Disney Parks announcements, because I'm a huge Disney Parks fan. Shaw knows this. Yes. I love going to the actual theme parks. I think that was something that I grew up on, and the experience of going to a physical location and everything is themed around something. It really immersed me into it. And I can think kind of got my creative juices flowing when I was a kid. So I've always loved the theme parks, even to this day. And I think the stuff that they announced at D23 was magical, boys. I think they announced a ton of cool stuff and interesting stuff that we have not gotten in a while, because I don't know if you guys have been keeping up, but Universal Studios announced that their new expansion stuff, and Disney is definitely behind, boys. The Universal expansion is amazing. It is fantastic, but we're not here to talk about that. But this is like, I think Disney shot back at Universal for them to be like, all right, we finally got something to show, boys. We finally got some new blood in here. So the largest expansion ever at the Magic Kingdom, which is like the main park at Disney World. There's a ton of stuff they're taking from each coast. The West Coast is getting stuff that the East Coast had. East Coast is getting stuff that the West Coast had. It's all synergy, baby. It's all coming together.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
They announced that two Cars rides are coming over to the Frontierland expansion. Cars already had the Cars Land expansion. The whole that was actually what started their themed lands was Cars Land, and then they got the Star Wars Land, and that gave. I think that was also inspired by the Harry Potter Land. Like I said, they're going back and forth with Universal trying to compete, but a ton of things that they're focusing on their IPs and their franchises of, hey, you like Cars? Here's some Cars. You like Princess and the Frog? All right, here's Tiana's new ride. You like all these things? We're just going to give you more of what you love. So I was really actually impressed by a ton of stuff that they announced, including an entire Villains Land, which is going to be like just evil people, just Maleficent and Cruella, all of the most evil stuff that you can imagine, Shaw.
And all the concessions give you diarrhea in Villains Land.
That would be evil. That would be
although that's kind of just Disney.
Jafar's over there, like
Disney parks in general.
Out. Yes,
100%.
Prince Ali, a boo boo.
That I'm sure there will definitely be a Jafar walking around. There'll be
I would actually just hang out with Jafar. I think he's legit.
You think he's misunderstood?
No,
a Monsters.
No, he's not.
They announced a Monsters Inc. land and the first ever suspended roller coaster, which is them holding onto the doors in Monsters Inc. So that's cool.
When's the last time anybody here has been to a theme park? I'm just curious.
I think Shoff and I both went right before COVID, right?
It's true. Yeah, we were there in March. Well, I was there in March. Or was it February? I think it was late February.
Okay.
It
I
was
was
right around the
already
same
marked.
time as Vactor was there. I remember because we had a mutual friend who I went with, and he had mentioned he wanted to meet up with Vactor. And at the time, I didn't know Vactor, and I thought Vactor was like vying for the best friendship that I had with this guy. And I was like, I don't want this guy to be the third wheel coming in and messing with our bromance situation. And so I was like, kind of putting the kibosh. I was like, no Vactor. I don't want whoever this Vactor guy is. I don't want him around.
Dang. Yeah.
So he
I
didn't.
went. I actually went the week of COVID. Like they had just announced COVID, like across the country.
So he was like, I
and
want to go.
Disney. We already had booked our trip months
Better
in
get
advance.
in now because it's shutting down.
Yeah.
The
The week after we went, it shut down. Yeah.
Yeah, we went the week of the week. I think the next day they shut down. As a matter of fact,
My
but they
God.
had their line of defense was like, all right, here's some hand sanitizer every couple feet. Then that'll protect you from COVID. So that was the last time I went. I haven't been to a park since then. Kevin, have you been recently?
I haven't been to a theme park, no joke, since Universal Studios Islands of Adventure, my junior year of high school. So that would have
Wow.
been
Holy crap.
2002,
Yikes.
like that spring. So
That's
it's been
over 20 years.
been over 20 years since I've been. And Disney World, I have not been since 1999, 98,
Dang.
somewhere in that.
There's been a
They didn't
ton
even have
of
the
things.
internet back then. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Like they still had, like the last time I went to Disney, they still had MGM Studios. It was called MGM. They still had the
Yes.
Ninja Turtles like show and the,
Oh,
and the
man.
MGM, you know,
Dang.
all that kind of stuff. So
That's
yeah,
crazy.
I'm very much aware of like there's been a generation of things that have changed
Yes.
since the last time I've been. I'm actually going to be going to Universal Studios in October of this year. So super pumped
Okay.
about that. Taking the wife and kids. My parents are going to be there. So super psyched to see Harry Potter World and
Yes.
the OG Universal Studios Park and Islands of Adventure. And I know they've
Yeah.
updated a lot of the rides. Like the Spider-Man ride has gotten like graphical updates, and like Hulk coaster has been massively updated since the last time I was on it. So I'm really excited to get to experience all that. But anyway,
Yeah,
I
let
didn't
us
want to take
know.
away from your storytelling here. I just was curious, like the last time any of us have been on a been in a theme park. Clearly, I'm the weird one in the group. So
yeah, definitely
or
let us
you have the
know.
most money because you haven't gone to a theme
That's
park.
true. That's true because the prices in the last 20 years have risen. I don't know what the percentage, 300%.
So for a 3-day ticket, 2 days you get free at Universal. So it's like 5 days basically. It's $1,200 for 2 adults and a 3-year-old.
That's
or a
much
4-year-old
cheaper than Disney.
Yeah. And my 2-year-old's coming, but he's free because he's under 3.
Yes.
So
okay.
Yeah.
Epic Universe is the big expansion that they're doing. That won't be open when you go, Kevin, but definitely tell us how your experience is. But Epic Universe,
we'll do a whole podcast. I'll just, maybe I'll shoot some footage, and it'll probably just be my kids crying because they didn't get ice cream, or I want to go on the ride, mommy.
Wait, when did you say you're going?
October 14th through the 19th.
Okay.
The Hunt for Red October.
All it says is opening 2025. I don't think there's an official date. Maybe you will be there in time for the Epic Universe.
But it's 2024. I'm going this fall, like in 3 months.
This year.
Like
I'm sorry. Never mind.
Yeah.
So real quick, Islands of Adventure was like the big Universal thing, and then Harry Potter. Now they're opening a new Harry Potter world, which is going to be much more of that. What was the prequel that I didn't like?
The Fantastic Beasts.
Yes, it's much more Fantastic Beasts than Harry Potter. There's a dark universe, which is supposed to be all the Universal monsters. So Wolfman and the Mummy and all those guys.
That would be really cool because Universal's always been big on Halloween and like the monsters and stuff, like the Monster Mash and all that stuff. So yeah, that would be really neat.
They put out a promo video for it, and it looks like that. The dark universe side looks crazy because there's like a restaurant you go to and everybody's looking for Dracula, and there's all these vampire, and they bring a steak out like on a steak, and they bring it out to you, and it looks cool. You should watch the Universal promo video that they did. But Super Nintendo World, Celestial Park, I'm not sure. I think that's kind of like the main street when you walk in, and then How to Train Your Dragon. So they're doing like they're playing into all the
So with the
Universal
Harry
stuff.
Potter one, are they still going to have the Hogwarts Express that like links you
Yeah,
to the
that's
different parks?
that's
like
a
it does
separate.
today?
Yeah, and that's really cool. I really like that as far as
Okay.
immersion, because it feels like you're on the train. It feels like
Mhm.
you see the windows and there's people passing by. But all that to say, Universal has some really cool stuff coming, and Disney has some really cool stuff coming. There's Zootopia ride. There's a new portion of the Millennium Falcon show off on some new missions with Mando and Grogu. So they're expanding Galaxy's Edge. There's new Pirates Lounge, new Spaceship Earth Lounge, reimagined Test Track. This is all Disney World. But there's a ton of stuff. And this is like the first big expansion that they've really announced, because they do little piecemeal every year. It's like, oh, here's one little ride, here's one little thing. This is like, here's all of this stuff, including they're expanding the Avengers campus. And they got Robert Downey Jr. to come back, and he's voicing Tony Stark for for a ride. And there was something else specifically with Tony Stark. I think there was two announcements, but there's a ton of stuff for the Marvel side. There's a ton of stuff for the Disney side. I'm really excited for all these expansions of the theme park, because, like I said, it's the biggest one versus just doing these little bitty ones. It's like a ton of announcements. So that was my big thing about D23, was all the theme park announcements. I was really excited for that when they were going down the list. So hopefully we can actually talk about going there one of these days. And as Kevin is going to Universal, maybe I can do a Disney trip, and maybe Schaff will join me on my Disney trip.
Start saving.
Or
Yeah.
just the three of us can go and just have
Whoa.
like an insane blast.
Now
Yeah.
we're
Disney, if
talking.
you're out there, we are shills. So just pay up.
Ooh.
Like we'll go.
That is 100% correct. Kevin, you are also a shill for Pixar and
Yeah.
for Disney Animation, and they announced a ton of stuff.
Call me a purist, but I love what Disney has always been about, and that's great animated content.
Yes.
And
100%.
so I was completely blown away in a sense of just some of the announcements that came out of D23 from the animation side. I knew about Moana 2, but I was somewhat surprised, like, wow, they're making this movie, but they're also doing a live action Moana. I think they're still working on that at some point.
Yes.
So it's like, wow, this is kind of strange. But so it was neat to see the new trailer of that. It actually looks like a really killer story. I actually think it may be better than the first one, just based on what I've seen in that trailer. I love that they're bringing Toy Story back, and it seems like a controversial thing to say, because it seems like, we got a finite ending with the third movie, but then like they did Toy Story 4, which rubs some people the wrong way. I actually really like Toy Story 4. I think each of these movies has a theme that makes it very interesting to explore. And watching the videos that people shared online of Andrew Stanton, who's coming back to direct this one, or coming in to direct this one, like what better person than Andrew Stanton?
Right.
And it's going to explore sort of toys versus tech. And as as parents, as dads, right? Like we're guys, we have little kids, and there is that constant battle of screen time versus like go play with your Barbie dolls or your GI Joes or your car action figures and stuff. And so I'm really excited to see how this movie is going to explore that through the lens of Woody and Buzz and all these classic characters. So I couldn't have been more excited about the Toy Story 5 announcement. I think what I like about doing these type of sequels too, and I might be shilling this out, whatever, is that it does finance the original content stuff that I think still is important. So the fact that they announced the Elio, I think is how you pronounce it. That looks like a really interesting sort of story. It's an original movie that follows a young boy who finds himself beamed up to an interplanetary organization where he's selected as Earth's official ambassador to other galaxies. Seems interesting. Completely unprepared for that kind of pressure, Elio must form new bonds with eccentric aliens, survive a series of formidable trials, and somehow discover who he is truly meant to be. It is the studio's 29th movie, and it will be directed by Madeline Sharfian, Domi Shi, and Adrian Molina, and features the voices of America Ferrera, Jamila Jamil, Brad Garrett. Hey, I'm Brad Garrett. Jonas Kabrib, and it'll release June 13th, 2025. So
You want to hear my Jonas Kabrib impression?
yeah,
we
sure.
go.
How about it?
I'm Jonas Kabrib.
I love it. I love it. One of the other original content things that they announced was Hoppers, which I wasn't like super excited about, but I like the voice cast of John Hamm, Bobby Moynihan. We talked about him last week.
Yes.
Piper Curta. That's coming out March of 2026, and it will introduce Mabel, an animal lover who seizes an opportunity to use technology to hop her consciousness into a lifelike robotic animal, an adorable beaver. And it will. So very interesting concept. What I do like is that Pixar continues to ask questions like, oh, what if toys came to life when we left the room? Or like, what would happen if our consciousness shifted to animals? So I love that they're pushing the boundaries with these kind of interesting stories. Let's see if this one will be a hit or maybe not. But I think the biggest announcement within the animation announcements was really the two big things, Frozen 3 and The Incredibles 3. And I'll start with Incredibles 3. Brad Bird's one of my favorite directors. I've gone on record on this, even going back to my Fuse film days. What he did with Iron Giant, still to this day, very few animated movies have really gotten to that level. A lot of people were disappointed with Incredibles 2. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I felt like the bar was set so high with the first one, and we had waited so long for a sequel that maybe that's why it just didn't hit. So I'm really excited to see what are they going to come to the table with for Incredibles 3. And so really I was actually somewhat surprised that they were going to do this. And again, some people will say, oh, it's just Disney doing a cash grab, man. More sequels, less originality. But I think they're balancing between that. And then on the Frozen 3, we're a Frozen household. It was actually the second movie, the second date that I had with my wife was the first Frozen movie.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know if she was like freaked out by me or not, because like I was
Maybe
like
she
totally
had cold feet.
I was totally digging like the songs and like it felt like a traditional just Disney animated movie to me. And I was like, oh, it's got great music, great story. And I think clearly she married me. So like, obviously I didn't run her off, but man, there was a risk there. But, we like Frozen 2. I like how they continue to push the story there and it's always about the sisters, and it's never bigger than that. Even though I think people externally are, try to write fan fiction of, oh, wouldn't it be great if Elsa married a flame chick and like all these kind of things. And like, I think, whatever that, if that does happen, whatever, but as long as it's a story about the two sisters, I think it'll be great. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with Frozen 3. I think they showed some concept art. So it seems like they're going to continue to answer questions that people have about how did she get her powers, and just all of the questions that we have about the franchise. So huge announcements, I think, that I was very, very surprised about on the animation side.
I wanted to ask you, Kevin, because I actually had this conversation with our buddy Super Tim earlier today. He's a huge Disney guy, and we were talking about Brad Bird and Andrew Stanton. And it's so interesting that both of their careers were amazing, groundbreaking animation, amazing. Then when they tried live action, Brad Bird had a hit with Mission Impossible. That was, I think, to this day, that's still my favorite Mission Impossible.
That was Ghost Protocol, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was really, really good. Yeah,
that was a fantastic.
I don't think JJ gets enough credit for the third one, but we can podcast about that some other time. But I think there's a good thing there. But anyway,
Yeah, that was the best Mission Impossible. But then he does Tomorrowland, and that Tomorrowland I think is very
never seen the
similar.
movie all the way through. I couldn't get through it.
We
Yeah.
went to my wife and I took her on a date to Tomorrowland. Both of us very disappointed, but very similar. Andrew Stanton does these groundbreaking animated movies. Wall-E, as you know, Kevin, is my favorite Pixar movie of all time.
Wall-E.
Then he does John Carter. Both of these guys seem like they will never do another live action movie because those two movies, Tomorrowland and John Carter, were such big flops. I almost feel like they're in live action jail where nobody's ever going to give them another shot. So I was just curious your thoughts on both of their career trajectories they did these amazing groundbreaking movies, Iron Giant, Incredibles, Ratatouille, Finding Nemo, Wall-E, and then they do these not so great live action movies. Now they're going back to the sequels of these other movies. So what are your thoughts on those guys, I guess, career paths?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing to bring up. I will say I feel like there's always a lot more at stake with a live action film than there is a animated film. Animated films have a lot more like runtime to build. You know, they start working on the animation very early on. I feel like there's just a lot more creative expose that goes into that. And you get a little bit more of a palette to try things that maybe you don't get an opportunity to do with a live action film because you're more pressed for time. Plus, I think like what is the willingness of the real actors? You can you can animate somebody to do anything, and provided you just have the voice to back it up or the sound effect or whatever. But like Tom Cruise is only willing to do so much. You know, I mean, he's a shill. He'll do anything.
That's Tom Hanks. Sorry.
Yeah, that was Tom Hanks. But I guess my point is like I can see those two guys having that like sort of inner monologue of I feel like I have more creative control and more ability to do more than I can in a live action environment. The John Carter story, and this is again a podcast for another day. We need to write these things down.
Yes.
The John Carter story is arguably one of the most fascinating filmmaking endeavors of all time in terms of just what went into getting it made, the absolute box office failure that it became. I'm actually one of those weird people, and God, I hope I don't get shoved off this podcast for saying this. I actually really liked the movie.
Yes, me too. Me too.
I feel like it deserved a little bit more of a chance, and I think the studio did it a disservice on how they marketed it and how they hyped it. And because I don't think Disney knew how to market that movie, and I think that was the real big disappointment of it. But regardless, your question was these guys' career paths. Clearly, their careers, when we're all old men sitting on the front porch talking, are going to be defined as some of the greatest, most innovative animators and animated storytellers.
Yeah. And
Steve Jobs.
I had a question for Shoff as well. Sorry, Kevin.
No.
Is the question, do I know who
if you don't
Tom Cruise is?
With all of these sequels that they announced, I think they definitely took note of Inside Out 2 being the highest grossing animated movie of all time. And I don't know if these were already in the works, and then they got the green light. All right, go.
Right.
But
yeah.
What do you think about all of these sequels? Like, and this is not a new thing of companies milking their franchises, but these ones in particular, Toy Story, Frozen, and we could also talk about the live action thing of, hey, they're doing Snow White, they're doing Lilo and Stitch, they're doing Moana. The adaptation of something from one medium to another, but it's still the same story. And then the sequelization of, hey, we're going to do Incredibles 3 and Toy Story 5 and Moana 2. What are your thoughts on this? Like, do you like all these sequels, or do you like more of the original style, original ideas?
to be perfectly honest, this is not a new Disney practice. It's just the difference
you.
is
Yeah.
the difference is we're used to it being straight to VHS. Remember back in the day, like
Coming out of the Disney vault for the
Yeah,
first time.
exactly. Aladdin 2, Return of Jafar, Aladdin 3, Prince of Thieves. Like there
But
was
did you like those? That was
I
don't
like
think
Return of Jafar.
anybody.
Yeah, I mean, the way your foul little mind works. Yes. No, I really I mean, growing up, like that was a thing. We just were you
Mhm.
just were used to that.
Yeah.
So the sequel machine doesn't really bother me so much. I don't love the animation crossover to live action remakes. I don't love
Mhm.
those so much because especially for like say like Lion King, something where it's animals, like you're taking a movie a movie musical that where the animals had very expressive faces and then you're putting it
Yeah.
into a realistic setting but still having it be a movie musical, but they don't have realistic I'm sorry, they don't have expressive faces because it's based in realism.
Right.
You lose something. You
Mhm.
lose the charm, you lose the zest, you lose like that extra je ne sais quoi. How do you say mojo? Right. So I think like that's the part I'm not a fan of, but I don't mind the sequels. In fact, I have a theory. I'm throwing it out here right now. Toy Story 5, Woody and or Buzz will find I'm gonna say Woody will come clean to Andy that he is like can talk and stuff. Like I think
wow.
like they're gonna have
So-
a moment.
I
That'd be
I read a
interesting.
rumor even before they announced officially Toy Story 5 that there was a possibility that they were making this and that Andy would come back in some capacity and form and that his presence in the film actually would be extremely important. And I could see that being not to speculate if toy versus tech is a huge issue going
Yeah.
on with
Yeah.
what's the little girl's name again? I forgot. Bonnie.
Yes, right.
If Bonnie's having issues, I could see somebody like Andy coming in and saying, "Hey, like you're missing this whole world of imagination out there," and that's maybe where, to what Shop's pointing out, he has that first encounter with Woody for the first time. It's got to be Woody. It can't be
That
Buzz.
would be
Yeah, it's
that
gotta
would
be Woody.
Yeah.
I think like
And then the end of the credit scene is like Andy's in like the white room with like a straight jacket on, and he thinks he's crazy. Yeah.
nobody
So-
believes me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're real. They're real.
But yeah,
I
as
think
long
the
as
only
it's good, as long as it's a good story, that's the only thing. Like,
yes,
Yeah.
right.
as long as they're making sequels that have stories worth telling, then it's all gravy for me.
Yeah.
But if they're just making it and it's not a good story, first of all, we're gonna know that based on box office numbers. People don't like crap anymore. Like they
Mhm.
don't let things that are not good last. Like Borderlands, we're seeing right now, Borderlands is getting railed. It looked in the
Mhm.
previews like it was going to be a fun movie. It is. I mean, it's horrible. How about Harold and the Purple Crayon getting absolutely eviscerated in the box office?
Oh,
right
is it
now?
really that bad? I wanted to see it. Yeah.
I mean, it is probably one of the lowest Rotten Tomatoes scores. It has. It made like maybe 8 million, like total, or
Mm.
something. It was like some ridiculously low number that is like absolutely insane. So like we're in a unique society now where they just don't tolerate crap, and so I think like if Disney or Pixar is putting out crap, they're gonna hear about it. So
Well, I
Well,
wonder.
I wonder too, if not to get on this topic, but Harold and the Purple Crown, for example, that's a movie aimed at kids, and you're releasing it right at back to school, where like kids aren't going to the movies in the middle of the day, and parents aren't looking for things to do. Like, had they released that like in June, I'm just wondering if maybe you would have a slightly different. Because I think parents are always looking for like movies to go to the theater with to see
Yes.
with their kids, and so anyway, that's again podcast for another day. Write that one down. I wanted to respond to Schaff about the live action
Adaptation.
adaptations of like animated classics.
Mhm.
100% agree with you. Like, I've enjoyed some of the nuances of them. Like, I actually thought Aladdin was pretty good. I liked Will Smith's way
Genie.
that he approached the genie, because again, even if Robin Williams was still alive and they put him in that role, it would have looked really weird.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So like I liked how they did that. I like how they gave Jasmine a lot more feminism and even her own song and stuff like that. So I like some of the new things that they bring into it. That being said, I think there's certain animated movies that just need to be almost off limits. And I felt like The Lion King was one of them for the exact reasons that you outlined. To me, the realness of the animals didn't look that real to me. And it just, like, I wasn't asking. It's kind of like Indiana Jones 5. I wasn't asking for it, you know?
Right.
Like, but like the Jungle Book that Favreau did, I felt like, hey, that's a movie that, came out in the 60s, 70s, I think. And some people really enjoy it. Some people don't. But I felt like the live action take was actually so much better than the animated
That actually
movie.
was really good. You're right. Yeah.
Again, because it's more of an adaptation of your Kipling's book, but with the Disney animated, pieces into it. But it kind of felt like a better thing. If they released the Black Cauldron into a live action movie, that actually might be really interesting. Because it was a failure of a Disney film. It was like kind of during that dark era of the Disney animated deal. But like, we're getting a live action Frozen at some point. It's gonna happen.
We're gonna get a live action Song of the South.
I'm not really sure we're gonna get one of those. But like we've already gotten live action Peter Pan movies, and like they've been hit and miss. We just got the Peter Pan and Wendy on Disney Plus. It was okay. So it's like, I don't know. I just feel like they're hit and miss, and some movies make sense and some don't. I'm actually excited about the Snow White one. I know it's like really controversial, but I think like that movie is such an OG. Like, I wasn't even born when that movie came out. None of us were.
Right.
And so like
that was the first animated movie that
it was the first animated movie that he did. Yeah. So it's like, I think it'll be interesting. I love Gal Gadot. She's like, I always joke that like if something horrible happened to my wife, like, my kids need a mom, Gal Gadot is going to be it. So, that being said, her as the evil queen, to kind of see her in that role would be interesting. Another movie that I liked that was in live action was Maleficent. I felt like that was a really clever way
that the
of
first one. Can't remember.
Maybe of taking the Sleeping Beauty concept and twisting it around a little bit and humanizing Maleficent in a way that like you sympathize with her and you understand why she is the way she is. I will say that the Lion King thing and then Rev Kev will be quiet, is I like how they're using that to give us the Mufasa origin story, which I think is somewhat interesting. Like, but why didn't they just do that from the get-go? Like, hey, we're going to do a live action Lion King movie, but it's going to be a prequel focused on Mufasa with all new original music by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and rather than giving us the Lion King shot for shot remake with fake real animals.
Yeah, I'm much more excited about Mufasa because it's not the same story that we've already seen. That's been my biggest problem with these adaptations is I already know the story. I already know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And what you said about Aladdin is funny because I was also talking to Super Tim earlier today, and that was the one that was like, oh, this one is a little bit different. It's not the exact same. And that was the one that I checked out of. I watched everyone up to Aladdin and I was like, nope, you're not fooling me, Disney. I'm not going to fall for you. And now I'm hearing, oh, it was a little bit different and it wasn't the exact same. So now I might check it out. But I don't want to see
Jafar
the same.
wasn't this like, yes, gross endeavor, Prince Ali. Ooh. He wasn't this like cheeky like British man that was like kind of behind this Arabic. It was like a real Arabic actor who was kind of gnarly and just like devious but not in like a seduction like goofy kind of way. So like I really
your eternal reward.
Your eternal reward. Anyway. Yes.
Well, before we get to Shaw's favorite announcement, I wanted to just make a quick point about the direct to DVD or direct to VHS back in the day. I think the difference between those movies and then these sequels that we're getting now is we thought, and Shaw, correct me if you have a different take, we thought those were bad. Like when they were coming straight to DVD or straight to video, to me that was like, oh, this is not going to be good because they won't even
It's
put
true.
this in the theater. And I think it got that reputation of um this is, what was it, Snow White 7, and here's the Lion King 4, and all these Little Mermaid 9, and she's got a granddaughter, and she's
Yeah,
a,
Land Before
so
Time 17.
yes,
Oh my gosh.
I
Yeah.
think these ones we're like, oh, Toy Story 4, this one is a big budget, like, they put it out in the theater. What was the other? Frozen 2, that was a, obviously, Frozen was the biggest animated movie of all time, and then we're like, "Oh, a
Yeah,
sequel, we're getting more of this storyline," and
yeah.
I think we are thinking these ones are gonna be quality versus those ones we're like, "Oh, that they didn't even bother to put them in the theater." So
Not
there
to
was
mention
that
that they didn't even have the same
mindset.
voice cast in most
Oh,
cases
yeah, that's
too.
Most of
another
the
thing, yeah,
cases,
right, right.
they didn't have the like the musical
Mhm, mhm.
investment. Like you didn't have
The
Alan Menken
quality, yeah,
or
even the
Hans Zimmer.
animation, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it was
quality was just
I've
not as
actually
good.
read about this. Sorry to go over Schaff, but like
Tell
Jeffrey
us, tell us.
Katzenberger, who was like the head of the
Mhm.
studio at the time, he wasn't like the Bob Iger, but he was
Right.
over the animation and motion
Went on
picture
to
stuff.
form DreamWorks.
Yeah, it was like a policy from Disney that we will not do sequels of animated movies
I
regardless of how
remember that.
successful
Yes,
they were.
yes, yes. I
And it
remember
was
that.
like there was reasons for it. They felt like number one, the way that they looked at release windows back then is very different now. So like they didn't have as many real estate flags to plant. And it was like if we're going to fill that release window, it's going to be the next masterpiece classic, right? So rather than Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, it's going to be The Hunchback of Notre Dame because that's the story we want to invest in. That's the voice cast, that's the music, that all of those kind of things. And so that was really the reason. It wasn't that they didn't have faith in like that a sequel could work. It's just that they chose to, well, I'm making this up. I don't know how much it cost to make the first Lion King movie, but it was like if you look at everybody that was involved in that, like James Earl Jones, all the way to Elton John, Tim Rice, Hans Zimmer, like the directors, all this kind of stuff, to put that kind of investment into a sequel would have been tremendous. And so that song that you have at the beginning of Simba's Pride, "He Lives in You," with
Mhm,
Lobo or whatever his Lebo,
mhm,
and
mhm.
all that. Like
Not Lizzo, right?
not Lizzo, Lebo. That was actually a leftover remnant of the first movie that they cut. And but if you notice, it's like a main featured song in the Lion King Broadway
Yes.
soundtrack.
Mhm.
So it's very fascinating how those kind of things. But it was really a Jeffrey Katzenberger thing that stuck around until Frozen, and then everybody was like, "Wait a minute, we've got to really seriously consider doing a Frozen 2." I think Pixar has always been sort of on its own journey, um, because for a long time Pixar was its own studio that was just had
Mhm.
Disney just had distribution rights. So there was already a precedent ahead of time when Disney brought in Pixar. They had already done sequels. So because they did Toy Story 2 and Cars 2 and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's an interesting thing. I miss the direct to video, the working at Blockbuster and just like, oh, cool, it's Little Mermaid 2, the Return of Ursula or whatever it was. I
Yeah.
don't know. So
Those were good times when we often thought of bad quality means straight to VHS. I looked it up. It depends on which one of these started the live action thing. If you go back to 2010, Tim Burton did the Alice in Wonderland, but his
mm,
was kind of reimagined a little bit. Maleficent, I think, is the one that kicked off this current trend. That was in
yep.
2014. And then we got Cinderella after in 2015. Then it just kept on going from there. But I think these are some interesting choices for Disney of, hey, what's going to make us what's going to be creatively satisfying, and then what's also going to make us the most money. We're seeing with Inside Out 2, it the fan base was so ready for that, and they're ready for another Inside Out. Like, people are asking for another Inside Out, but I think Inside Out is like Incredibles in that it kind of lends itself to sequels. Like, the story can continue going because Riley's getting older. She's getting new emotions. Like
Yeah.
that makes sense. Incredibles.
Well,
Well,
and
superhero team.
And mental health is such a huge
Yeah,
topic
right.
right now amongst
Completely
everybody coming out
different,
of
yeah.
COVID. So I think
Mhm.
Inside Out just like resonates with a lot of people
Yeah.
right now. So yeah.
Yeah, so all of those things are interesting. Also interesting is Shaw's thoughts on D23. Shaw, what was your favorite story from D23?
So, I mean, I was enjoying all those reveals, all the cool trailers that came out for lots of stuff. But for me, what was really, really exciting was talking about the Fortnite stuff. So they had Fortnite D23, huge announcement, and it was built into the Fortnite platform. So you could attend.
Which I watched live.
Yeah, you could. I wanted to be there for the live event, but that didn't happen. But I'm glad that Vactor was able to. I did catch it on just like a replay the other day, and I sat down and watched it as my character. I was in my Gambit skin. Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here. And that was a lot of fun. So I was sitting there and I was emoting while Kevin Feige and Dave Filoni and the guy
Pete
from
Docter.
Pixar, I can't think of his name.
Pete Docter.
Yeah,
Andrew,
thank you.
Andrew, oh, Pete Docter. Yeah.
Pete Docter. And they were all talking about various things. And so there was a lot of cool reveals, but probably the biggest reveal, and I'll go through most of them, but like the biggest reveal was about the next season of Fortnite. Chapter 5, season 4 is called Absolute Doom, and it's going to be huge. It's gonna be huge. We're gonna have a great season. All right, it's gonna be epic. Really pulled out all the stops. Okay, gonna be great. So what we've got here is Marvel themed. So already, like, we're all on board because we love Marvel. But so, like, for instance, obviously we've got Doctor Doom. Obviously, it's gonna be Doctor Doom. But this thing's first of all, it debuts on Friday, August 16th. I guess technically it's going to be on Thursday, August 15th for those that are on like the sort of American side of things. But for the UK, it's going to be Friday. But anyways, so there's going to be a lot of great skins. Doctor Doom, Gwenpool. There's going to be a Peely version of Wolverine called Peelverine. There's going to be a Jonesy version of Captain America called Captain Jonesy. War Machine. There's Meowsicles is a famous skin within Fortnite, and they're gonna have a Sabretooth version of Meowsicles, so that's pretty fantastic. One of my favorite femme fatales in the Marvel universe, Emma Frost, she's gonna be there. Shuri as Black Panther will be there. Mysterio is gonna be there as well. Cool. Fishpool. We're gonna have the Fantastic Four available as skins as well. I'm not sure if it's gonna be like new MCU, probably not. It'll probably be more like their classic look, but we'll see. Maybe they'll have some varied skins like Future Foundation or something like that. Would be pretty awesome.
Oh man!
In the item shop right now, if you're a big fan of X-Men, which who isn't, if you're in your right mind, they've got Cyclops, Colossus, and Jubilee as like a bundled pack. So that's pretty exciting. Cable, I think I already have Cable, but I think he's going to be back in the item shop as well, which is really, really awesome. So all of those skins are going to be available for this Absolute Doom as part of their battle pass. And if you're not familiar with Fortnite, the way it works is you purchase a battle pass, and it's like, I don't know, what, like $15, I think.
Yeah, that's about right.
About $15, and for the entire season. And then as you play, you level up your character, and every tier unlocks more skins, more emotes, back blings, all sorts of.
You play this on your phone, or do you play this on computer? Or
you can play it on a computer, you can play it on the phone, you can play it on your consoles. It's cross-platform in like just about every possible way. Yeah,
I've never played Fortnite before, so yeah.
We got to get you in. We'll play some trios. Vactor and I play regularly, at least once a week for sure. Yes. Yeah. So we're very excited about it. But those aren't the only skins that they announced for Fortnite. In addition, because it's a whole Disney event, they're also showing some Star Wars skins and some Disney villains skins. So there's going to be a special villains section of Fortnite around, I think they said that was going to happen around like the October or like the Halloween season. And we're going to be getting characters like Cruella de Vil, Captain Hook, Maleficent. And then also on the hero side, we're going to be getting the Incredibles. We'll have Mr. Incredible,
Oh,
Elastigirl. I think I saw
got to get Elastigirl.
Yeah,
Is that Frozo up there?
that
Yeah.
dump truck. For
Where is
sure.
my super suit?
I want to see that dump truck doing that. I'm savage. Classy, bougie, red.
That is going to be a very popular skin. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah, and Frozone. Where's my super suit?
They could get Sam Jackson to do the voice. That'd be great.
And then on the Star Wars side, we've also got, and these ones are available, I think, technically today. IG-11 from Mandalorian and Moff Gideon, played by Giancarlo Esposito. So they're there, and then you can also purchase Grogu as a back bling, and this is pretty awesome because you can put it on any of your characters, and you'll basically have Grogu in your backpack, and he eats those little blue cookies, and then he throws them up.
Yeah.
So lots of fun. New map. I think they even said there's going to be some car skins for their for like Fortnite collabs. You can use them in the game as well as in Rocket League.
Nice.
And that would be potentially Lightning McQueen. Ka-chow! So,
Ka-chow.
And they also said The Simpsons is another rumored Fortnite collab.
Oh,
that would be
They got to do Simpsons.
Yeah.
that would be pretty epic. Yeah. So epic. So yeah. So, but Fortnite, I love Fortnite. I've been a huge fan since the first season. And it's only gotten better and better. It's just like, now that it's so licensed and there's so many skins that are, whether it's Disney or Star Wars or DC or
there's everything. There's Terminator. There's Aliens,
right.
RoboCop.
Yeah, Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much
Stranger
out there.
Things.
So
Yeah.
whatever you're into, probably. They have a Nike collab right now.
Yes.
Metallica did a collab, which was, I thought that to me bothered me the most. The Metallica collab really irritated me because they were such knots with when Napster was going down, and Lars Ulrich was just like an absolute bitch about that whole thing. And then they put themselves in as skins on Fortnite. I'm like, you guys, you want to talk about selling out? Like, this is selling out. So
He was such a Torben.
yeah.
Torben's a bitch. A little bitch.
I just want to go back to Coruscant.
I just want to go home. I just want to go home. God.
So yeah. So, but for those that are interested in Fortnite, or maybe you never played before, give it a shot. Try this new season. You can actually play without the battle pass. You can play the new seasons. You just have to.
Do you have to have any history with the game or like previous seasons to be able to do this season, or can you just like?
No,
say,
not at all. It definitely helps to have
5?
somebody with you in your party that kind of knows the mechanics, but ultimately it's a battle royale game. So the goal is to outlast all of your opponents. And it's very much like it's a third person shooter. And so there's lots of, varying types of guns or gadgets and things that you can use. A lot of times Vactor and I are more playing for the quests and things. So there's, various missions, things you can do in the game while people are trying to kill you. You're like trying to do other stuff, like unlock this, go to this spot, talk to this person, blah blah blah. And doing so gives you more XP, gets you further on the battle pass, unlocks more skins and cosmetic items and things. And it's a lot of fun. So like you can play how you want to play, but some people get real sweaty with it, and they're all about getting that crown, getting the victory royale. But honestly, it's just fun to play. I don't worry too much about getting first.